The dispute between Manila and Beijing involves these waters. And halfway around the world, at the Peace Palace in The Hague, a team of high-level Philippine officials are buckling down to argue its case. Beijing will not be there, but it has managed to shoot an arrow straight to the heart of Manila's arbitration case. Because international law measures maritime entitlements from land, Beijing, through a position paper, says the issue is ultimately about territory. That would make the issue a question of sovereignty, which the arbitral tribunal cannot decide on.
So the Chinese are not participating officially, but they're really in the room. They're the elephant in the room. They may not be there in terms of physical presence, but their arguments are the ones that the Philippine side will have to answer and will have to rebut convincingly.
Aside from the sovereignty issue, Beijing points out that its commitment under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea does not include being forced into arbitration on maritime delimitations. Beijing also argues that the Philippines has not exhausted other ways of resolving the dispute. Manila insists it has tried several times to hold talks with Beijing, but China demands that the Philippines acknowledge its indisputable sovereignty over the West Philippine Sea before proceeding. Santa Romana says the Philippine panel must prove to the tribunal that Manila has no choice but go to court. The panel must also convince the tribunal that it is possible to identify which parts of the disputed waters Filipinos have rights to without having to deal with sovereignty over islands and rocks. Or at the very least, the panel must get the tribunal to zero in on Beijing's 9-dash line.
Kasi yung 9-dash line, there's no way it can be justified under international law or UNCLOS.
Santa Romana says Manila needs to debunk just one of Beijing's arguments for the tribunal to proceed hearing the case.
I'm hoping at least we get jurisdiction that will allow us to go to the discussion on the 9-dash line. If we get that, that is already a major victory.
A victory that would pave the way for the real battle, proving the merits of Manila's claims over the West Philippine Sea.
I think we have a fighting chance. I know that it's a narrow ground that we have to maneuver, but I think we have to win this. We have to overcome this hurdle.
Because if Manila doesn't win this round of arguments, it will be back to square one. The government says it has a plan B, but declines to discuss it at this time. JC Gotinga, CNN Philippines.